Hello, it is me, Tom Titherington, again with T and Tom. So everyone take a quick little cup of tea.
Cheers.
Cheers to you. And I am here with Hannah Saiz, who is the head coach of the St. Norbert College, and she is very happily decided to join me in this podcast where we are going to be mainly focusing on swimming and coaching during the pandemic. And so Hannah Saiz is an excellent athlete and coach. Like, her accomplishments are phenomenal to me. She is the head coach of St. Norbert College, as I've said, won the NCAA Division III in the 200 butterfly in 2013. She finished 8th in the Olympic trials in 2016, I believe, and was ranked top 50th in the world, and that is absolutely phenomenal to me. So Hannah, welcome. Hello.
Hi, Tom.
Yes, we've known each other for quite some time, and she tolerates my energy. Oh yeah. So how are you doing, Hannah?
I'm doing all right. It's been a long year, long week, honestly, even though it's only what, Wednesday,
Thursday, yeah.
So see, I can't even tell the days of the week anymore.
Yep.
The wonderful things that COVID has done to us.
Oh yes, I can.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Doing all right. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm so glad that you're excited. So, so let's jump into it. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is the COVID outbreak. How is this because this has disrupted everyone's like plans, like especially for athletes as well. I mean, the Olympics have been put off by a year, so athletes' schedule have been like what they've been training for has been brought out of whack. And I really would like to know, and you just started, you've been in your position for 2 years now, so this is a very unique situation. And how has this affected you?
I think in some ways, COVID has forced me to be a little bit more creative, be a little bit more flexible, embrace change in a way that I probably wouldn't have in an ordinary year, in an ordinary season. And I think it's also reinforced something that I told my athletes at the beginning of last year, but I'm not sure that they believed me. And that idea was that every year, every season, every team is different. Every experience with every team is different. Even when you have the same coaching staff. And for them, having gone from only one season with one coach to an entirely different season with an entirely different coaching staff, I think they kind of assumed that all the changes that happened were specifically because of the coaching staff change rather than because things do change from year to year, season to season. And I think this just kind of underscored my point.
Yeah.
In terms of managing with COVID, we've been incredibly lucky at St. Norbert in order to have, we have everyone on campus, classes are in person, student athletes are allowed to practice. We don't have a championship meet that got canceled. Spring sports may be able to compete, but fall and winter championships were just flat out canceled. But still being able to be around one another, still being able to practice, still being able to have the full team when I know that there are so many programs across the country that either shut down, the school itself closed down, programs got cut, or teams are only at partial capacity because, first years and sophomores are on campus, but juniors and seniors aren't, or juniors and seniors are on campus and first years and sophomores aren't, or international students are allowed to be there, but other people aren't. We're really blessed to be in the situation that we are in, where we can have everybody, where we can be very intentional about the kind of work that we're doing and have an opportunity to learn and grow together, because we are still a very young program.
Yeah.
The biggest hurdle that I think most other programs contend with is the loss for their seniors. We're such a young team, we don't have seniors.
Right.
Like the oldest group that we have is juniors.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So this is very new then.
So this is an incredibly new program. It is 1 year older than my tenure here as coach.
Oh wow. Well, that sounds great. That it's incredibly fortunate that everyone is on campus. Has that been a recent development, or was it just sort of like at the beginning of the pandemic they were sent home, or has it just recently come back?
Yeah. So last year in March, so literally almost a year ago at this point,
Yep.
the college sent everybody home for spring break with COVID and said, hey, take your stuff, plan for an extended spring break. And extended spring break turned into, hey, we're not coming back.
Right.
Which was very similar for many programs, basically everybody across the country.
Yep.
And the college administration kind of over the summer recognized that COVID was something that was going to continue to impact us, but that there were also ways to safely begin to re-engage. And so we were one of the first colleges, I think, in the country to reopen to visitors. We opened June 1st.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe it was June 8th, early June, to having visitors on campus and enforcing mask wearing, social distancing, cleaning of surfaces, one family per tour guide. It was, in many ways, I think that is one of the reasons why we made it through first semester the way we did.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone expected to be able to be on campus the entirety of first semester, especially with, again, programs around the country closing.
Yeah.
Colleges around the country shutting their doors within the first couple of weeks. But we did a lot of contact tracing. We did a lot of quarantining, isolating positive cases, and really gave ourselves the best shot to be in the place that we are. And in many ways, I feel like we're very much on the forefront of the battle. Our college is going to be a vaccination site.
Oh, so, fantastic!
I know, right?
Oh, well, that is. I heard that.
I was like, all right, fantastic, let's do it.
Yeah.
And there's kids on my team who are going to be part of the effort to vaccinate the population. Like that's their summer job.
Oh, that is so. That warms my heart.
With needles.
Yeah, that is excellent. No, it sounds like you guys are really, like, you're taking this seriously, which is excellent. And this should be taken seriously. And like you say, like, you're in, like, the best possible situation that you can be, given that we're in this pandemic. And that is absolutely fantastic. Oh, I'm so pleased for your college. So, having said that, yeah, most of, sorry, I'm reading the same question twice in a row.
It's all good.
So in that case, you've kind of touched upon like the maintaining of fitness, because like they're all back, but when it first hit between March and June, what were you encouraging them to do to try and stay healthy or stay fit during that time? Because it was a big unknown until you were able to get back on campus.
Yeah. I mean, everyone, we literally have people from across the country. Washington, California, Texas, South Carolina, like
yeah,
the Midwest generally, Ohio and what do you call it? Wisconsin, the place where we are.
Yeah, that place that you live,
Minnesota.
What's it called?
Michigan, Illinois. Now, like we literally have people from across the country who are part of our program. And so the way every community and the way every state handled the pandemic, what was open, what was not open, what people were able to do, what people weren't able to do. Yeah. Over the summer, it basically came down to me saying, normally I would send out a summer workout packet, but at this point, you tell me what you have to work with and I will write you something.
Oh, wow.
to do. And so over the summer, I was writing, 10 to 15 different kinds of workouts for people who are like, yeah, I have a 10-yard pool that I can tether myself to and do work, or I've got an hour and a half of the local community pool and at short course meters, or I've got, I've got a 30-minute block in the local YMCA, and there's going to be grannies in every lane, and I have to make sure I don't tick them off too much or like. So figuring out some very creative ways to write effective workouts for people, but also exploring the dry options for athletes who have limited pool time or no pool time available.
Yeah.
And so things like going for runs, going for bike rides, weightlifting, turning the stuff you might have at home into like home gym capabilities.
Yeah.
Like you can't do a lot if you don't have dumbbells, but you can do some stuff like bodyweight squats, bodyweight lunges, push-ups. Those are all things that are relatively challenging if they are done slowly with great technique. And if you want to add a little bit of weight, a full water bottle or a backpack with your favorite subjects, favorite textbooks, like you make it work.
I do. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I do remember at school you used to carry around all your books, and was that you training during the day?
No. But a lot of this literally came from me being at home, looking around and saying, I've got an additional 40 to 60 hours a week where I'm not doing the thing that I would normally be doing.
Yeah.
Just be on campus and working with my team, and starting to kind of re-examine my own relationship with fitness, and figuring out how I could be more in shape, just have something to schedule my day around and structure my day around. Mm-hmm. And that ended up being doing like bodyweight workouts on my own, and then taking a lot of the stuff that I learned and sending it off to people in my program who were looking for outlets.
Did you find... Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but did you find that a refreshing change of pace, or did you find it quite stressful? Was it kind of like fun to like see like, oh, I've got this. Wait, maybe like a milk jug. I could do like some weights like that. And so
it was. I had basically gone for almost a year without consistently working out, and I was, in many respects, very unhappy with where I was. Just, I've literally been doing an incredibly intense, high energy sport for more than almost 2 decades. And, the longest I had taken off at any point during that was 2 weeks. And so having gone, an entire year without being in the pool, without training at that level, at that capacity, there were things I was just happy about anymore. And so a lot of this was an exploration of, what does it mean to be a fit individual? What does it mean to be in shape? How can my learning now benefit my athletes, especially my female athletes? Because, there are huge struggles with body image, and this is what media portrays. This is what the actual reality of being an athlete is.
Yeah.
Figuring out that, hey, some of my stuff doesn't fit anymore. And it's not because I got fat. It's because I developed muscles that I haven't had previously. So, yeah. It was an interesting and stressful, and also not stressful in a weird way.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. Well, I love that you're adapting like to the situation. I mean, like, you have to
adapt or die.
Yeah, adapt or die, or yeah, or just sink. Sorry. So anyway, with all that in mind, coaching is not all about just staying fit. There are so many, like you've just touched on it. Like you're having to think outside the box, because the athletes are your, you work for the athletes in a way, where like you're maintaining their fitness, you're making them, you're bringing out the very best that they can in these sporting arenas. So with that in mind, what do you do to push them? You know, like what have you done? Because you've obviously you've been an athlete yourself and you've had coaching experience, so you've got a lot under your belt. So what do you do to adapt to like bring out the best in people?
To address the first point about coaching, I think that coaching itself is probably about 15 to 20 different jobs that you're expected to be an expert in all at once. The primary thing that people think of when they think of a coach is someone who is an expert at the sport or the thing that they talk to people about. But I think in reality, a lot of what I do is be a salesperson, especially when it comes to recruiting, and be a therapist and life coach. So wow. those are probably the two biggest like add-ons to actually knowing what I'm talking about in the sport. And I think the relationship building aspect is probably the biggest and most important piece of that puzzle. And a lot of that gets built during the recruiting process. So, for example, I coached high school, club, and college, or I have coached high school, club, and college at different points. In club and high school, you don't get a chance to pick who you want to work with. Right. So you get the talent that's in the area, you get whoever decides to come out for your sport, and the end goal with those programs is to maintain the numbers, grow the numbers that you have, while also encouraging people to become better. In some respects, trick them into liking the sport if it's not something they were truly passionate about to begin with. But in college, people have elected to continue their sport at the collegiate level. And so when you're building a team, it's not restricted to who's in your area. I am literally drawing from people and programs across the country, eventually, hopefully across the world, to get, athletes here and participating in our program. And that gives us the ability to sort of pick and choose the kinds of people and the kinds of mentalities that are going to ultimately benefit us as a program. So things we look for are drive. So the intrinsic motivation factor. They want to do something. They want to get better. A team-centric nature. So they're focused on how they can better our program. They're not seeking individual acclaim. It's more about the overall goals of the team and how what they want to do individually feeds into that. Oh. And empathy. So the ability to empathize with their fellows and recognize how to be their authentic selves around a group of other people who are also striving to be their authentic selves. I've totally lost track of what the original question was. I'm just spouting things.
No, like you're still on track, to be fair. Like the question was, how are you? No, the question was,
am I? Well. What was the second part of it? Because part of it was asking about the coaching aspect.
Yeah.
And it's a million jobs. What was the second half of the question?
How do you personally go about getting the best out of these athletes?
Yes.
Yep.
So that's the relationship aspect part. So, through the recruiting process, I spend a lot of time building relationships with people. For the athletes who were already part of this program before I came on board, that's like 95% of what last season was building and establishing those relationships, getting to a point where I felt comfortable being vulnerable with my athletes and they felt comfortable opening up to me and sharing about themselves with me. Yeah. And that's a journey that's never done. So we're gonna continue learning and growing about one another. And the more I know about them, the more they trust me, the more I am able to then respond by pushing them and asking them more. I guess the phraseology I want to use more is the idea, like the perception on the athlete's basis. This is a coach who cares about me and wants to push me versus this is a coach who hates me and is out to get me.
Yeah.
That's the trust line right there. Because if you haven't established that trust, then anytime you push someone, the kind of baseline assumption is, you're trying to get me to fail, or you're attacking me. Versus once that trust has been established, and for some people it's easier and happens faster than with others. Once that trust has been established, you can ask them to do more, you can ask them to give more, because they believe that you believe in them. They believe that it's for the greater good rather than a personal attack.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. And
that's what I build relationships, and then I push people.
To be fair, I remember there was a week in the summer where I trained with you, where it was really, you were being a lifeguard and I just came to swim and you were like, do this, do this, do this. That was one of the most intensive workouts of my life. What she had
my warm up.
That was your warm up as well. So this is from for me, I don't swim professionally at all. I love swimming, but that is just such intense. And that was just your warm up. It was 4 laps in a full, I believe it was 100-meter pool. No, 50-meter pool. 50 meters, right? Because you got 25 and then 50. It was
the you're talking about Plattsburgh, right?
Yeah.
That was a 25-yard pool, so that's less than half of what an Olympic-sized pool is.
Oh my god, I thought it was bigger.
I mean, it feels really big if you're kind of sinking to the bottom.
Yeah. So that was 4 laps of just swimming regular. Then it was 10 sprints with, I believe it was 30 seconds of rest time, and then you're like, go again, and then it was 4 laps again of a cool down. And I remember I sent I did this in an even smaller pool with another bloke in England. He's a really, really nice fella, and he was saying how intense that was, and he was in great shape. He's like a marathon runner. That was amazing.
That is definitely part of what a warm-up set would be for my college athletes.
It definitely made me think, I wonder how intense that was, and now I've got my answer. I've been wondering this all my life. So, having said that, let's talk about what your favorite thing about coaching is.
Oh gosh. Like I said, there's just so many jobs that are associated with coaching, and there are bits and pieces of all of them that I really enjoy. The recruiting aspect, so getting a chance to meet people from all across the country, all across the world, communicate with them, try to figure out, one, are they a fit for our program? And 2, if not, is there a place that I know and coaches that I've connected with who might be a better fit for them? Because I've definitely talked with people and had them say, you're not really the place where I want to go. And I'd be like, but I know exactly where you should be looking. And then in sort of the more traditional view of coaching, like the on deck and stuff, I really enjoy the moment where I see a breakthrough. So we used to phrase a lot, stepping off the edge or falling off the cliff, where someone is finding where their limits are currently and pushing themselves hard enough to identify those limits, and falling just short of what's been asked. So, for example, last night we had 6 50s on a tight interval, 6 50s on 40 seconds. And one of our guys traditionally swims kind of more with the distance group. And I asked him to swim with our middle distance group this season, just because I think he's got a little bit more speed than endurance. And he decided to go on the 40-second interval and see what he could do. And watching watching the way he pushed through when it was very clear he was in a lot of pain, like that was super inspiring to me. And, getting a chance to see him like literally fall short at the very end, it was not fun in sort of like that sadistic way, but it's fun to see people identify where their limits are, reset, and figure, this is something that I want to do again. I'm going to share another story because I just thought of another one. We did basically the same workout over January when we had a group of 8 guys on campus. And one of the guys we asked to do 650s on 35 butterfly. And he's a flyer, 100, 200 flyer team record holder. He's okay at swimming. And I think he stopped at like 4 and was just like giving us this look like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. And I mean, we got him going again. We finished up the set. It was fine. What was really the moment to me that was exciting to see is that I think it was maybe 2 weeks later, maybe a week and a half later, we did a set of 150s on short interval. So it was like 45, 50, 40. And the very last set of 10 were on 35. And I mean, most of the set, it was supposed to be a shakeout. It's just like, get going, get moving, crank out 5,000 yards in an hour type deal. But for the last set of 10, he decided to go on 35 and he decided to do it butterfly. And as I was watching him do this, this was entirely unprompted by me, not my assistant coaches. It was his idea to do it. And I was watching him do it, and I knew exactly what was going through his head when he started the set. And I just had this intense feeling of pride well up inside of me. And at the very end, I went over and I checked in with him, and I was like, yeah, how's it going? How you doing? And he's like, I needed to know that I could do it.
Aww.
I needed to know that I could do it. And I was like, that I knew that's why you did it. Like I've been in those shoes. I've been in that position. But it was so great to hear that, that step off the cliff moment and going into, I'm going to push myself to do more than I thought I could.
That sounds so inspiring, and
right, like, oh my god,
yeah.
These are the moments that I live for.
Yes,
these are the things that you see happen, and you get just that little bit of like, so
gets you right in the heart every single time, eh?
Oh yeah. And then you devise more ways because you have to keep pushing them, right?
Yeah.
So kid can make them on 35 now. We know he can do 6 on 35. We know he can do 10 on 35. What's next?
Exactly. Oh, I love that. You're like, oh, this was so inspiring. Let's figure out a way to make you worse in worse pain. Oh, I love it. Oh, but that sounds like such a rewarding aspect of your job. It really does. Having said that, let's talk about your career as a full. Like from when you were swimming to going through, when you first jumped into coaching to now being the full-scale coach, what would you say is your most proudest accomplishments?
Hey,
and you can say, oh, sorry,
because there are a lot of different moments that really stand out to me and resonate with me, and I think the things that mean the most to me are not necessarily the individual finishes, places, or even team finishes. I think what means the most to me is knowing that I've had a positive impact on people. So I went to school, Kenyon College, Ohio. Fantastic swimming powerhouse. The year before I got there, the women's team won NCAAs. The men's team had 30 consecutive NCAA championship titles the year I got there. And my freshman year, the women took 4th, which was the lowest placing that they'd had in forever, for a very long time. And then my sophomore year, we got a new coach. and the women's team was fourth. And then my junior year, the women's team was fourth. And by the time I was a senior, I was like, I am sick and tired of these shenanigans. We're going to be in the hunt. We're going to be fighting to be at the top. I'm a competitive person, and aiming for anything below the top is not the way. That's not the way I set my goals.
Yeah.
And our program finished second. That was a really big jump. We saw people swim out of their freaking minds. We saw just the incredible. We were swimming for each other. Sometimes quite literally for each other. My roommate actually took my place on the 800 freestyle relay because I got pulled out of the meet after the 200 fly that you were just talking about. And she must have dropped in like 2 seconds or something from her lifetime best in that event to anchor that relay. And honestly, like watching her swim that in my place might have been one of the proudest moments of my athletic career, is seeing someone step up for her team, because it felt very much like those 4 women on that relay didn't swim. They weren't swimming they weren't just swimming. They were swimming for me.
Aww.
And that's something that I think still really resonates with me to this day. In terms of like the coaching aspect of it, I think I'm still developing my voice. I'm still getting my feet under me. And, every year I want to be better. I want to keep growing. I think the sheer amount of growth that I've had this past year, I'm very proud of. The COVID pandemic in some ways has, again, forced some creativity, but also given me and our team an opportunity to explore different avenues. And I'll be completely honest. I hate change. I don't enjoy mixing stuff up. I know there are many ways to be successful, but it's something that I struggle with.
Yeah.
And
that's okay. Like a lot of people are afraid of change, but like, it's sort of like it's a necessary in a way, but like that doesn't mean like you should forget about the old ways. You should learn from the old ways, in my opinion, at least. And like this has been an absolute struggle with the pandemic and everything, mm-hmm. and I'm really proud of you for adapting to this. Like it's so
given us an opportunity to try things that I probably would not have had the guts to try elsewise. But there were just so many places where we were forced to change that it almost seemed like, why the hell not? Even like the mental training that we started doing over J-term with a small contingent of guys that were able to be back on campus. The difference between the men who walked on campus and the athletic leaders that we have in our pool now from that group of 8 is just, it's night and day. And I know they didn't necessarily see themselves developing that way. It was, boiling a frog. But I think when they look back and say, hey, this is something I couldn't have done last year, even with all the training that we had, all the physical training that we had. This is something that I couldn't have done first semester, even though I was in theoretically better shape. And now they are encouraging and pushing and bringing their teammates along as well. And I think that to me is just so incredible. And so, ultimately at the end of the day, I'll tell my team, I hate change. I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable doing it, but I'm more afraid of what happens if I'm not willing to.
Oh, that's inspiring. That is. Oh my goodness. And I feel like you touched a lot about what my next question was going to be, which is definitely, what's that? You're glad to hear it? Yeah, we should just skip the question altogether.
But ask it again so I can sound smart.
Okay. Because we were talking about your personal accomplishments, the next thing would have been like, what is your goal as a coach? And I feel like after talking with you, like genuinely, it feels like it's like, I don't want to, you know what? I'm not going to answer for you. So, but I've got an idea.
There's, just like I said, there's a million different ways to be a coach, or there's a million different jobs inherent within the overarching title of coach. And I think so there's many different goals within those things. In terms of like recruiting, I want to bring in powerful first year classes every year. I want to be a program. I want to become a program that people actively seek out. You know, I want to be the team that athletes talk about as the dream destination.
Yes.
And not necessarily because I've reached out to them first and I'm recruiting them. You know, it would be really cool to have some kid in Idaho be like, yeah, my goal is to go to De Pere, Wisconsin and swim for St. Norbert College.
Yes.
And, you know, have that be the dream goal as they're growing up. In terms of the goals with, you know, our program, I mean, ultimately I told you I'm competitive.
Yeah.
The first step on that journey is I want to win conference. And the nice thing is that even though it's been a goal that's kind of been sitting around in the back of my own head, the team has said it too. So it's not even necessarily something that I specifically am saying, this is my team. This is my goal for my team. It is our team saying, you know, this is something that we want. This is something that we're willing to work towards. And I think that that's a big, big component that I can't want it more than they do. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm not the one getting up and swimming their races for them. It can't be. So they have to be on board. They have to be willing, able, excited to pursue this thing. And, you know, as we continue to go forward and move forward too, I'm competitive. I want to take people to NCAAs. I want to eventually be a destination program because we're competing at the top levels of our sport, top levels of our division. And there's this one thing that's on my bucket list that as an athlete and as a coach, I've never been a part of. And that is winning an NCAA championship. I have never coached a program. I have never swam on a program that won an NCAA championship. And I feel like that's a really big thing.
And it's achievable.
That I still want
yes.
to have happen.
Oh, that hunger, that desire. Oh, I love it. Oh my goodness. This has been such an inspiring interview. Like I'm like, this is amazing. Yeah, take a bow. You know what? Hang on. There you go. Yep, I've got a crowd here. Just taking a bow. So let's shift gears now. Okay. And I would like to know, like, one of the final questions that I've got is, how are you staying sane with all this madness? Oh, you're not? Okay.
If I was sane, I wouldn't be doing this job. Like, I mean, completely honestly.
Yeah.
If like coaching is not a job that you fall into because you're a rational human being. It's a lot more like a vocation, I would say, than anything else. And, you know, it's something that I knew I wanted to do as early as my freshman year in high school. So for as long as you've known me, I've known this is a career path that I wanted to pursue. I had a couple of detours along the way, but, you know, ultimately this is a job for someone who is willing and wanting to give up a lot for their athletes. Just like the sport of swimming itself and diving too. It requires a lot of sacrifice. Yes. And it's something I'm more than willing to do for our program.
And I'll tell you, you have done so many amazing things. I'm so proud of what you have accomplished. Like, you're right, it is a big sacrifice, and you have done an amazing, like, your career is just astonishing, and I'm so thankful to have known you through that. But, like,
You make me sound like I'm on my deathbed, bro. It was once great.
You were so great.
No longer.
But yeah, so now for a fun question, and I did ask you about this if you were willing to, but I've got a book called Damned If You Do, Damned If You Don't. I've also got some podcast pod decks. Would you like to ask or answer any of the questions in one of these? You
can ask.
I can ask.
The answer I give to all of my team is you can ask. I will not promise that I will answer.
do you just say no comment, or do you just like hear a question like, "Hey, how are you?" and it's just bleak, like, and then you just leave?
I mean, like,
get up and walk.
Again, sort of with the vulnerability stuff. If someone asks a question and I legitimately think the answer is going to help them, the answer from my own life is going to help them, I will share. But there are some things that my team does not need to know about me.
All right, so I'll ask you this one, and we'll see how you like it.
All right.
Would you rather? It's a would you rather question. Go 30 days without your phone, or an entire life without dessert?
Without my phone.
Without your phone, yep.
I mean, that one is so easy. I do so much email contact with recruits. I could still do my job without my phone. It might be a little bit harder, but honestly, I sometimes misplace my phone for days at a time anyway. So
yep.
You're not going to wrestle me away from the box of ice cream.
You love that ice cream, eh?
Absolutely.
Okay, here's another very interesting question, and my cat's just popped up in the background. You guys can see her. There she is. If you had everything in your house to be one color, what would you choose?
I was going to say green, and then I was going to say purple, but I actually think it'd be really funny to have everything in shades of gray.
Why?
Well, because you never really specified, but I think it'd be so funny to walk into a house that's monochromatic and feel like you're walking through a black and white photograph.
Oh my goodness. Okay. That does sound funny. Yeah. You've been watching a lot of WandaVision, haven't you?
No? Question mark?
You're like, what is that? Oh, you sweet summer child. All right. Shall we do one more from the Damned If You Do, and then we'll put this to bed. Okay, I think this one's quite nice actually. This one, especially with you being a former athlete and now coach. Would you rather never look healthy or never feel healthy?
Never look healthy.
Wait, you never want to look healthy at all?
Yeah.
Like, bags under your eyes, like your face has dropped, your muscles are like
So this is actually this ties into sort of my journey over the summer, because like I said, it was the first time in 20-ish years that I'd ever not been consistently working out for 20 plus hours a week. And I was in a place where I felt incredibly uncomfortable inside of my own body. And the programs that I started doing and like watching what I was eating and all this kind of stuff. Ultimately, what I noticed from a personal standpoint was that the moment I started to feel strong again was the moment I stopped hating what I looked like. And it was more important to me from a mental and emotional standpoint to feel like my body could do what I was going to ask of it than to look like a supermodel. And so, yeah, I'd still like to have a six pack, and I think it would be awesome to, look like an athlete. But at the end of the day, the thing that was making me incredibly uncomfortable in my own skin was not necessarily the fact that I wasn't in the same physical shape, like visually, that I had been in, but rather the fact that there were things I could no longer do athletically. And the moment I addressed that strength issue, when I started feeling strong again, what I saw in the mirror wasn't making me want to cry.
Aww.
So, awesome question. Really, really dark answer. But yeah, I legitimately think that I would rather look incredibly out of shape and feel strong, be strong, than have the reverse be true. Because my experience this summer and how much I really hated being in that place.
That is so inspiring. I did not expect that inspiring question out of a book called Damned If You Do. But that is magnificent. You are a true delight. And thank you so much again for joining me on this podcast. Any closing remarks that you would like to say to anybody?
Swim at St. Norbert? Dive at St. Norbert?
There it is. There it is. But no, seriously, thank you so much for this. This has been awesome. And thank you all for watching this. For this, I hope that you have enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye. Say bye, Hannah. Bye.
Peace out.
Bye.